Hey there, and welcome back to Scrap with Penny, where paper meets story. Today we're going to have some fun with the December Advent file from Peartree Cutfiles. Marie has 3 Advent calendars up right now, and one of them is the December Advent, and it's geared towards 6x8. One of them is the Scrapbooker's Advent, and it's geared toward 12x12. And then one is a Seasons Advent, and it's geared toward 12x12, but it's for people that don't want to scrapbook Christmas. So this is the file that I selected to play with, and I think it's cute. And I don't really have anything decided. I've got a bunch of things pulled. So I thought we would start with the cut file, and we're going to have a 6x8 canvas, and that is roughly this size. So what we need to do is decide our background paper, get this off the mat, and decide what we're going to back it with. And I'll show you some of my choices. These are choices I pulled for the background. The plaids may be too busy, and I also have this in the 12x12 print. So these are all 6x8 patterns, and this and this and this are Simple Stories Holly Jolly. This is Simple Stories Santa's Village. Those are all 2024 releases. And this is Ellie Studio, and I know that because their papers run a little bit longer. And so then for the back of my cut file, I went to this Mente White Christmas, and I thought this star would work. So kind of bearing in mind this, I need to think about how it's going to look on these papers. So probably what I'll do first is back this, and then that'll help me decide my background. And then for my pictures, I went to my Elizabeth Crafts film strip die, and then I printed these tiny little adorable pictures. So we're going to use this die and these small photos in our title, and our page should come together pretty quickly. So I'm going to pause the recording and work on backing this, and I'll be back in a minute.
So I thought I would do a little screen record on how I do an offset. And first of all, you have to realize that you bring the file in, and the actual file of this is 3.75 wide by 5.856. Now, if you buy the files pre-cut from Marie, which is an option, this is the size it comes. And for ease of example, I did not alter the file. Now, when you go to back your file, you have the choice to manually place this onto paper, trace it, and cut, or you can use Silhouette, Cameo, or Cricut to back it. And I'm choosing to use my Silhouette Cameo software. So the first thing that you want to do, and this is unrehearsed, so if I do some missteps along the way, I can just edit it out. So the first option is, I think, an easy option, and you can just offset the entire image. So I'm going to offset, and I usually do like a 0.8. That's 0.7, and I do select my square corners. It's 0.075, and so then I'm going to hit apply, and then I'm going to come over here and grab my cut file, and you can see that it's got the offset and it's got the inside items. So you can, at this point, release compound path, and then you can click on your first item, hold the shift key down, and grab all of the things that you want to remove. And I would honestly eliminate these little small cuts simply because it's hard for them to be precise, and they don't offer a lot of meaning, and they usually will look like a mistake, in my opinion. So I'm just going to eliminate all the little tiny things, and I'm going to leave the opening in, I'm going to leave these openings. And then on my O, I have to think about which to eliminate. You know what? If I'm going for a solid fill, I can eliminate all of them. But if I want a little hole in the middle, then I can leave that right there. Okay, so that would be the instructions on how to do a basic offset. If you're new, this is one of the easiest ways to offset it. And if you go to my channel and look at my fall is here layout recently, I did a beautiful ombre. In my opinion, it was beautiful. It's the paper that made it beautiful. It's not anything I did. And it's a very simple thing to do. So now I'm going to grab this. We're going to go to a new screen, a new example. And what I'm going to show you now is how you can trace this. I always have to hunt for that. It's the butterfly. It doesn't make any sense that it's up at the top. So I'm going to say trace, select trace area. I'm going to highlight my image. I'm going to say trace outer edge. And then this is another way that you would get the entire image and you wouldn't have to do everything I did. So now this is the offset that matches the edge of the file. So from here you could size out if you wanted an offset like we did. Where is that? Right here. Okay, so I need to be looking at 5 and 7. And if you wanted to do an inside offset, then you would go and you would pick internal offset and it would come inside. And I would scale it up a little bit. I like to go to the edge, close to the edge, so you've got plenty of room to glue. So that is 0.040 on an inside offset. If you wanted to have one piece of paper that covered all of the inside. Now, the obvious problem here is that you've got it cutting these items and you're not going to need an offset for this. So you could manually trim it, or I'm going to delete the inside offset. I'm going to show you real quickly how to do the exterior offset. I do always select the square corners, and then here I would go with the same 0.0075 that I did over here in this example. So it's just different clicks. You don't have to worry about deleting anything or the release compound path here, but this is a very good way. And then when you would go to cut it, you would get the exterior, the larger one, drag it over off your mat. And so highlight this and send it. Highlight this and send it. You will notice here there's no treatment for the O. So your O would cut solid. And that's not a problem at all, because you'll have this little piece right here, you'll have that you can glue on top of it. Now the third option I'm going to show you is if you want to cut only the sans serif font, but if you don't want to cut for this script. So what I do, and this is probably pretty elementary and not a fancy way to do it, is I just come along, and what I went to get was the eraser. And I'm just coming in here like this, and I'm eliminating I need to make it smaller, and I can make this larger. This doesn't have to be exact, because this time we're going to do an interior offset. Oh, y'all let me eliminate some of that S. So now we get to undo. But, you know, that is real life, and that happens. Okay, so now back, my S is back in place. I'm going to make that smaller. That undo button has saved me many a time. Again, this does not have to be perfect, because we're shooting to offset the inside. So I'm not super concerned about my exterior. I just am eliminating the exterior so it doesn't try and do an offset on it. All right, so let me zoom out. Now I've got basically just the letters. I'm going to change to my pointer. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to say offset and internal offset. And I'm wanting an offset that comes, you know, right about here, so I've got some glue surface. It's remembering this 0.075, and I think we were at 0.040. It doesn't look like it's doing anything. I'm going to say apply, and then I'm going to grab it. Oh, it did do it. It ignored this. This doesn't look right. So I think it's because of the space. Okay, so what this would do, this would work. This would give you, let me click on this back piece. Object, release compound path. There we go. So that lets me grab all of the outside pieces. And then what I'm left with here are the images that would go inside of my letter. So for instance, if I click on all these, well, let me get rid of this. If I click on all of these, I'm going to presume you would do the present differently, and I just left it alone. This would not be hard to click on or manually handle. So just to see what we would be cutting, and then here you can see how it would fit. So honestly, it should be a little bit wider so that it would be easier to glue. This would work because it's going to the edge, but it would be a little bit hard. So I'm gonna grab all of this, delete it, and I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna do a different offset. And it does remember your last setting. So if I come over here, this is my offset, that's my file. So this is the trace, this is the edge of my file. So I'm gonna do this a little easier. Okay, so that's really what you want, is you want it to just be just inside your outside edge. And if, okay, so this looks like it would work. So then I would take this and I could cut this out, and then I could back all of this as one piece. If you wanted to back the files in different papers, then you would go this route over here. So I hope that that helps you a little bit, and maybe rewatch this if you're new. Marie also has tons of information on the website. She has a playlist on her website for how to do it with Cricut, how to do it with Silhouette Cameo, and then how to just trace it with pencil and back it by hand. Okay, so I'm going to get back to making my page now. So this is the direction I'm going to go, and to help you a little, I'm going to go ahead and fill this. So this way you can see that I'm picking the one that's inside. And just let me zoom in a little bit. And you can see that this is just slightly inside the outside edge of this file. So I'm going to pick this up, I'm going to copy it. I'm going to come to a new mat. You would just need to place it on your mat wherever you're going to put your paper. And this is pattern paper, so it should cut pretty easily. So you're going to hit send. It's telling me my paper's not loaded, and I know that. I'm just showing you the settings. So just, you would go to pattern paper, medium, and I will usually either go up one on the force or cut it twice, because I just don't like to not get a good cut. You know, I'm all about, I want it to work the first time. That's just me. So then this would be the piece that I would use to back, and you'll see that on the desktop in a minute. So I'm going to load up my paper in the Cameo, and I'll be back working on the desktop in just a second.
So this is the inset that I cut out, and you can see that it fits, and you can see that on the O I was talking about, you can drop that in there and it'd be just fine. Now if you didn't want this here, you can get that out with an X-Acto knife. So I'm going to take this off, and I want to trim off this present part. I want to do the present in a different paper. I'll be back in a second. I will say I always try and leave my middles on my cutting mat so I know where they are, and so I don't lose them. And then this is an older mat that's not one I cut on anymore, but I can use it to hold things that I'm going to glue down. So look, you can see that that works. And I'm just going to come right here with a pencil, and I'm going to carefully trace inside so that I'm giving myself a cut mark for cutting away. And look, I got onto that. No, not a problem. I can erase. If I were super concerned, I could have done it on the back side. You know, I could have flipped it over, but not the end of the world. All's well. And so I'm going to pick this up, and then I'm going to do my trimming by hand. It's always a case where you can take more off, but you can't put it back on. And I can tell you, I don't ever get it all done the first time. So I need to take a little bit more off there, square that up. I still need to cut a little bit there, but then it should be ready to glue. And if you wanted, you could mark it by pencil again, but I'm okay just eyeballing it. Another thing is you can turn it over so you can see where my gluing will go. So here's our cut file, and I think I'm just going to leave the paper in there. I'm fine with that. I do need to get my O on. Let me do that before I forget. So here's how it's looking, and on this one, and I didn't say, but I think this is the one I'm leaning toward. And I know it's going to be red on red, but I'm going to bring in some green. Don't despair. And these are my little pictures. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this down from 6 squares to 5. And I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to just make a cut in the middle and piece it together, and we're going to cover up the seam with a sticker. So I'm going to get my pictures backed and on here, and I'll be back in a second. So on this, I just trimmed it here and here. I'm going to put some glue down here and lay this on top, and then we'll cover up the seam. So look, now it's just 5. I wanted 5 because there's 3 pictures, and then I'm going to do a little decorative element in the middle. So it's going to go like that, and I think it's going to be cute. Again, that's an Elizabeth Crafts die. So I've got my pictures trimmed up, and I left enough margin on the top and bottom to glue that. There's not, this little section here is not thick enough to really get a grip on anything, so I'm going to focus on adhesive on the top and the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to glue these down. So I've made some progress. I went to my Lawn Fawn die set. This is, I think, called Rooftop. It's actually a little element to make a roof that Santa climbs out of, but it's a really cute scalloped border with stitch lines, and I'm using it as my shelf. I went to Simple Stories Santa's Village for this piece of paper for my present, and I've got this all on foam now, and I think it's going to sit right there. And I'm going to try and line the script up on that red line so that it's a little more visible. And I worked on my film strip. I've got all of my pictures in there. And then on my paper for backing, oh, I didn't say, this is Echo Park Happy Holidays. And then on a lot of my Christmas supplies for December Daily, I have them sorted by color. So I went to this color, this green. I knew I wanted green for the inside, and I found this piece right here, and I know this is Ellie's Studio. And then I went back to my Simple Stories Santa's Village bits and pieces, and I found this little ornament and this present. And then I went to the sticker sheet and I found this little bitty bit of holly. So this will sit in my album, and I know what year it is, and I know it's Christmas Day. I'm probably not going to do any journaling on it. I think that's one of the nice little things about the December Daily is you don't necessarily have to write a lot. And I also think it's a fun little canvas to create on. So it's not a super big commitment. It comes together pretty quickly. And so toward that end, I think I'm going to tape this down. I'm going to tape this down. I'm going to go ahead and pop it up on foam, mainly to give some stability to the back, because it's, you know, it's 5 little pieces. And then I think we'll be close to done. So I'll be back in a second. So I am back and everything is taped down. I wanted to say real quick that when you cut this out, you do get these little insets, and so you could trace around the edge on the back of a photo or the paper, and then just kind of cut off of your pencil mark, and then you would get a perfect inset for your film strip. And then the name of this, I looked it up, it's called Rooftop Borders, and it is slightly less than 6 inches because it's card making, but I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it being shorter than the page because I think it just gives you a border. And so I went to my enamel dots from the Simple Stories Santa's Village, and I brought in the green, the pinky red, and the gold. So this gives me some repetition of gold here. I grabbed a star from the bits, and there's gold here, and then there's gold up here in this ornament. So I get a little repetition on color there. And then I brought in the lighter green here, which is, you know, here, and also in this present. And then I put a lighter green dot right here, and then I put the pink up here, the pinky red. Just kind of trying to move the color around the page, and I think it's cute. It came together pretty quickly, and I hope that you enjoy this video, and I hope that you're enjoying the Advent calendars from Peartree Cutfile, and it's not too late to go get them if you want to go grab the digital or the pre-cut format from Peartree Cutfiles. They're out there, and there'll be a link to the Advent section in my video description, as well as detailed information about all those supplies I used. So I hope that you had some fun playing with paper while I did. And if you're new here, I would invite you to join the community of subscribers. We have a great little community going on here. And if you are one of my subscribers, I would just like to thank you so much for helping support and build up my channel. And I hope that you're having a great December, that you're staying on the nice list, you're getting all your to-do lists done, and as always, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. I'll be back soon with more layouts, videos, and a little stash busted magic. So please come back and crop with me. Until next time, happy scrapping, and remember, this is where paper meets story. Bye-bye.